Well, I mean, Jaguar are providing us all with a very nice kind of diversion from the state that we're in and the politics of the nation and the world and all the rest of it. So I suppose we should thank them for it. But a lot of people have got some, what I would say, not particularly nice things to say. I had Deanna Davidson in here in the first hour of the show. She actually said she quite liked the look of it because she's always liked sort of American muscle cars. But I don't think it's helped them that they've put it out as a promo picture in pink. I mean, if they'd made it black, perhaps, or silver, it might have looked a bit more macho. And I think the fact that they've made it pink kind of takes away from what it is they're trying to do, or maybe I've got it completely wrong. I don't know.
I think it's the latter, actually, Mike. I think you've got it wrong, and I think the outrage that so many people seem to have developed because of this new pink design is exactly what Jaguar are going for. What you've got to remember is Jaguar as a car brand, in the grand scheme of things, you know, we Brits, we like to think of our pioneering car brands as being one of the best in the world, and perhaps in the 1960s and 70s Jaguar was, but since then it has been a struggling small car brand with a really serious image problem. You know, Jaguar itself as a brand has been desperately trying to shake off the old money, Alan Partridge, John Prescott image that often comes with their cars. And they've been trying and failing to do that for, well, as I say, since the 90s, for a long time. So now they've got the opportunity to relaunch with an all-new EV-only platform, and they've done so in a shocking way. And I think, you know, as you said earlier on the show, everyone in the world is talking about Jaguar at the moment, and I don't think there's been a position that Jaguar have been in the past 20, 30 years where there's been this much hype about their brand.
Well, that's fine. But that's a kind of marketing conversation, isn't it? I mean, talking about a brand is one thing, but if everybody's talking about it being crap, that's not so good. Because, I mean, it's a bit like everybody was talking about Bud Light when they decided to have, you know, a bloke pretending to be a woman advertising Bud Light beer. And they lost £23 million and the marketing chief ended up having to leave the company. And I think this is similar, because I don't think yet we can say that it's a success, because talking about something doesn't make it a success. You know, having people say that they don't like the look of it or they don't like the sound of it is also not a success. And I've been living and working in and out of America for the past sort of 30-odd years, and Jaguar as a brand, Jaguar Land Rover in particular as a brand, is still massively big in America, and people want to drive a British Jaguar. They like it, but what they've done is they've kind of watered it down to the point where, you know, some of the new I-Paces and E-Paces don't look like Jaguars, and so people haven't bought them. So if they've got a shrinking market, maybe they've only got themselves to blame.
Perhaps, but as I said before, you know, they've been struggling for a long time to try and do cars in the same way as their American, their German and their Japanese counterparts. It's just something we've never been that good at.
Well, hang on,
really,
you talk about the Japanese counterparts. Nissan, I was reading just the other day, are on the brink of collapse, right? VW are going on strike in Germany because they're on the brink of collapse over electric cars. You know, I'm not sure this is the right time to start rebranding your company when you were probably doing okay.
It's a really good point, and you're right, EV sales are slumping slightly. The consumers are speaking through their wallets, and a lot of people that have been early adopters to EV platforms have now found themselves going back, certainly for the short term. I think EVs as a platform certainly aren't going anywhere long term. They're always going to be around, but I think what's going to be really interesting is how the numbers stack up in the future in comparison to EVs versus internal combustion engines. I think we're going to see internal combustion for a lot longer. But on Jaguar, I read a note earlier that they've invested as a company 2.5 billion with a B into their new electric future. And I think you've made actually quite a good point, which is, yes, this is a shocking car, but what is actually going to happen with this brand long term? Because the likelihood is, firstly, I must mention, the cars that we've seen, they're only prototypes. These are not cars that are going into production. They are just concepts, and they are, as concept cars always have been, they're designed to shock and make us sit up and pay attention. We're not actually likely to see the true result of this as a car in a physical showroom until 2026. Yeah. That's the bit that concerns me about Jag, is the fact that they're putting all this money and all this hype into rebuilding their brand, but the likelihood is that we're not going to see the physical car for at least another year, and that's where I feel like they might really fall short.
Right. And I mean, Jaguar Land Rover as a company, might be suffering, if you say so, on the Jaguar front, but surely they're not suffering on the Land Rover stroke Range Rover front. I mean, they're about to launch a new Defender, which I never thought they should have got rid of in the first place. You know, but the current Defender, if you like, the newer version, is a very big seller. I see so many people driving around him. I nearly got one myself, and I'm glad I didn't, because there's too many of them around, and it's a bit too common. You know, that's how bad it is. But you know, Range Rovers all over the place. In America, again, it's still very much the luxury car of choice for sort of presidential motorcades and all that. They like the Cadillac Escalade, but they love a Range Rover because it's British, and you know, they've still got part of that as their wheelhouse, if you like. So I don't quite understand why they're trying to be so ridiculously kind of avant-garde. It doesn't make any sense.
I think it's because, in a sense, they think they probably can. And you're right, Land Rover as a brand has never been more powerful than it is now. Yeah. And yes, certainly in the States and other parts of the world, I have to hold my hands up and admit I drive a new Defender because I love them. You know, I'm a motor journalist. I get to drive all sorts of different cars every single day of the week. And the Defender, when I drove it when it was new, I thought, actually, this is quite a good thing, and I've ended up buying one myself.
No, it's a lovely-looking car, but as I say, it's so popular. There's so many of them. I quite like to have a car that's slightly less in abundance, if you know what I mean.
Well, then you need to buy one of these new Jags.
No, I got a Maserati, mate. You know, I'm quite happy with that. Thank you very much indeed. I got the first Grecale that was ever made in London, and I've had it for 2 years, and it's brilliant. And I'm never going back, I don't think. And I had a Jaguar F-Pace about 2 cars ago, which I also thought was a great car, and I had it again before lots of other people did. But now it looks really old-fashioned.
Yeah, you're right. And, you know, I think that a lot of people are very upset by this new bold design. A lot of people are very upset by the colour schemes. A lot of people were apoplectic over that branding video that came out.
Well, it was crap, wasn't it? I mean, it was ridiculous.
It was confusing. Let's put it that way. And there are certain elements of the new
I mean, a bloke in a dress with a giant hammer. I'm sorry, I don't know what that's got to do with the car. You know.
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah, but again, it was a approach to make us sit up and pay attention and go, what is this? I think perhaps if you'd taken all the words Jaguar out of it, you might have assumed it was a perfume or an aftershave advert. But it's been designed in the same way as a perfume and an aftershave advert to stay in our memories, so we see it and go, oh God, do you remember that?
That's fine. But I also buy perfume and I also buy aftershave, and I'm not buying Jaguar perfume or aftershave because it's a car, and I'd be worried it might smell of petrol. You know, what are they thinking?
Well, it won't smell of petrol because it's an EV, but it's I get the I get the approach. I absolutely do.
Yeah, I mean, it's just anyway. Listen, I wish them well. It's a great British brand, even though it's owned by the Indians. You know, and I hope that they manage to make it work. I just think they've gone down the wrong road, and I think the problem is that they've become obsessed with the marketing conversation rather than actual sales, and that's where I think they're going to trip up.
I think so, and. Look, time will tell. We, as the consumers, are the only people that can determine the success of this brand. If nobody buys it, then it's not going to work and it's going to fold. And we just won't know what's going to happen there probably now for at least 2 years in terms of once the cars go on sale and then how successful they've been.
Exactly. And getting rid of the actual Jaguar, I know they're keeping it on the side, but to get rid of the actual thing that made them what they are just seems bonkers to me. But listen, good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. John Marcar there, presenter and editor-in-chief at Driven.